Hello, in this video presentation, going to move towards what I believe to be the preferred solution to problems that Clark and Van Til have raised in their Christian philosophical systems. That's one benefit, by the way, of studying philosophers in general. Even if you do not accept their solutions to problems that they raise, still they are often extremely useful in drawing your attention to problems that need solution, perhaps a better solution than they themselves arrived at. Well, to review the first two videos, we rejected the Clark and Cornelius Van Til arguments, which were of similar form, really. Each man was saying, if you don't accept his version of the Reformed faith, including certain implications about logic, then there is the conclusion, no knowledge or no tools to arrive at it. Well, the difficulty is that, as we saw in previous videos, that this appears to be either man's system, Christian philosophical system, appears to be unfortunately inconsistent with Scripture, and in particular, repeated examples can be drawn from the Apostle Paul's letters in the way in which he uses logic and is quite willing to draw inferences from the supposition that the Reformed faith is, in fact, not true. So, assuming we've gotten that far, that neither God is logic, Clark's view, nor did God create it, Van Til's view, then what? Then what do we do? Well, I prefer to conclude, therefore, that logic is not the sort of thing that either existed due to being created or, on the other hand, always existed, in some sense divine. I'm not just making this up. This is a path that has been invented long before I was born. I prefer a Christian nominalist position about logic and, in fact, about all other universals. You might say universals, if you don't have a background in this sort of philosophy language. Well, universals are abstractions and not particular things. Nominalism, which I espouse, is to say that only particular things, properly speaking, exist. Universals are used in all language. This book is read. That is, we could also say that redness, a universal, is exemplified in this book. Now, it is true that sometimes we speak as if universals were separate things that exist. In fact, I'll add here, you do this a lot of the time in such formal sciences as mathematics. But this is merely a manner of speaking. You shouldn't take it too literally. Only particulars exist, really. Now, I'm actually going to give a theology example here. You can read for yourself in Psalm 85, verse 13. It's talking about God. And it says in the last verse of Psalm 85, righteousness will go before him, and make his footsteps a way. It's speaking about the universal righteousness as if it was a separately existing thing, just as much as God is. But that is not to be taken too literally. In fact, to do so would be rather polytheistic. Let's look at what the ignorant pagans actually said in this incident in the last chapter of Acts. You recall the history that a snake had just bitten Paul, as you can read in the preceding verse or two. Well, in verse 3, there came a viper out of the heat and fastened on his hand, out of the heat of the fire. And when the barbarians saw the venomous beast hang on his hand, they said among themselves, no doubt this man is a murderer, whom, though he hath escaped the sea, yet vengeance suffered not to live. Or, other translations put it probably more accurately, justice has not allowed him to live, as in the RSV. Well, now, these were ignorant pagans. They thought there were many gods many and lords many. They thought there were many gods, and one of them was the goddess Justice. And perhaps they even thought there was a supreme God. But of course they were wrong. As in the end of Psalm 85, you can talk about justice and God as if they were two separate things. But properly speaking, that's just a manner of speaking, Properly speaking, God, the particular, is the only subject really being talked about in that verse of Scripture. And when we use universals, they are merely ways of speaking about particular things. Nominalism is an ancient Christian philosophy option, and it's clear, I hope, from the videos thus far, especially this one, that I believe it's better than the alternatives. I think it would simplify Christian philosophy greatly, and supposed harmful consequences in adopting Christian nominalism just aren't there, as I will outline in future videos. No harmful consequences, and a stronger position in Christian philosophy than even great thinkers such as Clark and Van Til were able to arrive at. Well, till next time.